The Boston Celtics stand at the threshold of a moment that could redefine their future. Yet, it is a truth few are ready to face. Jayson Tatum, the face of the franchise, the player whose presence alone changes the geometry of the court, is recovering. But that does not mean the parquet at TD Garden will hear his footsteps anytime soon. The night of May 12th of the year 2025 was more than a playoff loss. It was a collision between hope and harsh reality. The Celtics had just fallen to the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, 3-1, but the scoreboard was only part of the wound. On that same night, Tatum collapsed in a way that told the trained eye something was terribly wrong. Hours later came the truth no one wanted to hear: a rupture of the right Achilles tendon. For anyone who has ever seen greatness brought to a halt, the image was unforgettable. The stillness on the floor, the stunned silence in the arena, the dawning awareness that this was not an ordinary injury. Even before the medical scans confirmed it, the gravity of the situation was clear. A day later, the official diagnosis arrived, not as breaking news, but as a cold statement of fact. Achilles tendon ruptures do not ask for patience, they demand it. They do not negotiate with ambition, they dictate terms. Specialists like Dr. Kevin R. Stone of the Stone Clinic have been clear in public interviews. Recovery windows for elite athletes are measured in seasons, not weeks. 8 to 12 months is the optimistic range, and that is assuming no setbacks, no complications, no hidden damage. The mathematics of time is unforgiving, and in professional basketball, it is amplified by the constant motion of the league. Every week on the sideline feels like a month, and every month feels like an entire season slipping away. This is where the Celtics' journey becomes more than a question of medical timelines. It becomes a test of patience, identity, and strategy. Waiting will be the unspoken theme of the 2025 to 2026 season. Waiting for Tatum, waiting for momentum, waiting for the team to align around a future that is not yet visible. The temptation for fans and even for the organization will be to circle a date on the calendar, to imagine a triumphant return in March, to believe in the narrative that a single comeback can rewrite the season. But the truth is more complex. Recovery from an Achilles tear is not simply about walking without a brace or climbing stairs without pain. It is about rebuilding the explosiveness that turns a good player into a franchise cornerstone. It is about restoring the microseconds of reaction that separate an Olin Baskora from the rest of the league. It is about regaining trust in your own body when the game demands split-second decisions at full speed. And even if Tatum returns before the regular season ends, the Celtics will not be asking him to drop 30 points the moment he steps on the court. His game rhythm will need recalibration. Conditioning will need to be rebuilt. His role in the rotation will be managed carefully to avoid overload. These are not limitations. They are necessary steps toward ensuring that when he does take the floor without restriction, he does so for the long term. History offers examples worth studying. Kevin Durant, a generational scorer with a similar injury, sat out for approximately 18 months before debuting for the Brooklyn Nets in December of 2020. When he returned, he was as lethal as ever, but it took time, not only for his body to respond, but for his game to adapt again to the speed and chaos of live competition. That patience paid off. Celtics can learn from that precedent without rushing to replicate it. In Boston, this moment is not a signal of decline, but a challenge to redefine resilience. The roster has shifted since the glory runs of recent years, and this absence opens space for others to evolve in real time. It creates opportunities for emerging talent to take on responsibility, for coaching to experiment, for the system to develop layers that will remain valuable when Tatum returns. Anticipation around his recovery is understandable. He is not just the best player on the roster, he is the heartbeat of the franchise. But the most dangerous mistake would be to measure his progress by Instagram posts or public appearances without a brace. Recovery is not about optics. It is about readiness, and readiness is not always visible to the outside world. The question that should guide every discussion is not when Tatum will be back, but in what form he will return. A version of him at 80% in March may not change the season. A version at 100% in the fall of 2026 could shape the next decade of Celtics basketball. Is the horizon worth protecting? Boston has built a culture that thrives on long-term vision. This is the moment to prove it. Fan base has seen banners raised and heartbreak endured, and they understand that sometimes the greatest victories are won in the decisions no one celebrates. In the moment, for now, patience is the play. When the time is right, the result will be worth every day of the wait. In Boston, the winds of change often arrive without warning, reshaping the course of a season in ways that no analyst can fully predict. Every weapon in his arsenal, Payton Pritchard, the league's reigning sixth man of the year, is no longer just the energizer off the bench. After months of speculation, the Celtics are preparing to elevate him into a role that could redefine both his career and the direction of the franchise. The move comes in the wake of a blockbuster decision that sent Jrue Holiday to Portland, a deal that may prove to be one of the most pivotal steps toward building the next championship core in Boston. For Pritchard, this is not simply about filling an empty spot in the starting lineup. It is about stepping into a moment that the game rarely offers twice. Since entering the league as the 26th overall pick in the 2020 draft, touch can stand up to the relentless pressure of playoff basketball. Each season added a layer to his game. Each challenge forged a player capable of delivering in the most unforgiving situations. Now, with a prime opportunity in his sixth year, Pritchard is poised to become a central figure in a team still very much in the hunt for another title. The numbers tell a compelling story. Last season, Pritchard averaged over 14 points per game on nearly 47% shooting from the field and an elite 40% from beyond the arc, while adding close to 4 rebounds and 3.5 assists. Those statistics, impressive on their own, only hint at his value. His greatest strength has been the timing of his impact. He has repeatedly delivered bursts of scoring when the Celtics' offense has stalled, and his ability to shift momentum with a single deep three or a fearless drive has altered the course of games that seemed destined to slip away. This consistency is why head coach Joe Mazzulla appears ready to trust him with starter-level responsibility. The trade that moved Holiday was not a simple subtraction. It was a calculated recalibration of the roster, bringing in Anfernee Simons as a potential scoring weapon off the bench, while also giving the Celtics more flexibility under the league's complex salary structure. By moving Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, and Georges Niang in a series of interconnected deals, Boston escaped the crushing limitations of the second apron in the collective bargaining agreement, preserving their ability to make strategic mid-season additions. It is a chess move that keeps the team agile, capable of responding to any opportunity that might arise before the trade deadline. Yet, what truly sets this scenario apart is not the contractual maneuvering or the statistical projections. It is the mindset inside the locker room. Pritchard has already made his intentions clear, declaring that Boston's goal remains unchanged. For him, the season is not about proving doubters wrong, nor is it about simply surviving the absence of Jayson Tatum, who will be sidelined for much of the year due to a torn Achilles tendon. It is about carrying forward the standard that has defined Celtics basketball for generations, can once again reach the summit. This belief is not blind optimism. The Celtics have already shown in recent years that they can adapt to adversity, turning unexpected challenges into fuel for deep postseason runs. The emergence of players like Derek White and Sam Hauser in past seasons serves as proof that opportunity, speed, vision, and fearlessness could give Boston. Rumors continue to swirl around Simons' future, with speculation that he could be moved again in a deal designed to bring in another key piece before the playoffs. Brad Stevens has built a reputation for patience, often waiting for the exact right moment to strike. This means that the roster we see in October may not be the roster we see in April, and Pritchard's expanded role could be the bridge between these two phases of the season. Coming months will test the balance between continuity and change. The Celtics championship from 2 years ago still glows in memory. Bursts off the bench can set the tone from the opening tip and close games with the same deadly precision. Boston fans, the story is only beginning to unfold. Behind the curtain of roster moves and injury reports lies a deeper question. How far can a team go when its new leader on the court has been preparing in the shadows for this very moment? Pritchard delivers on the promise of his expanded role. The Celtics could. Opportunity to surprise the basketball world is there for the taking. In Boston, every summer move is calculated with the precision of a championship chess match. Yet sometimes, even the most well-planned gambits lead to a position where patience becomes the most valuable piece on the board. The Celtics, fresh off a whirlwind offseason where bold decisions redefined the roster's core, now find themselves in a fascinating holding pattern over one name that was never meant to be the final headline. Anfernee Simons, a player whose offensive fireworks are undeniable, is at the center of a quiet but significant standoff that could shape how the upcoming season begins and how the trade market tilts in the months ahead. The situation is more complex than it appears on the surface. Simons arrived in Boston as part of the high-profile exchange that sent Jrue Holiday to Portland, a move that was quickly followed by the departure of Kristaps Porzingis. In the process, Boston gained not only a guard capable of lighting up the scoreboard, but also a piece that could, in theory, unlock further financial flexibility. His track record is decorated with seasons averaging more than 20 points per game, and his name still carries the sparkle of being a past slam dunk contest champion. Yet within the front office, there is a sharper calculation being made, one that weighs his scoring brilliance against the realities of efficiency, defensive impact, and the significant weight of his upcoming salary, valued at $27.7 million for the new campaign. This is not simply a matter of cap sheets and luxury tax lines. Boston has already threaded the needle financially by moving Holiday and Porzingis, narrowly avoiding the punitive impact of the league's second luxury tax apron. The more pressing reality is that the 2025 to 2026 season stands as one of the most unusual challenges the franchise has faced in years. Jayson Tatum, the franchise cornerstone, is expected to miss the entire year, recovering from a torn Achilles tendon, carrying a salary commitment of $54.1 million during his absence. Jaylen Brown will earn $53.1 million, Derek White, $28.1 million. And those figures alone make it imperative for the Celtics to avoid tying up significant long-term cap space on a player who may not fit their strategic arc during a transitional season, but here lies the intrigue. Simons' current deal expires at the conclusion of the season, and that fact transforms him into more than just a scoring guard on Boston's bench. It makes him a potential high-value trade chip when the February deadline approaches, especially for teams eager to add offense without locking themselves into long-term commitments. The Celtics' reluctance to make a hasty move now may be less about a lack of suitors and more about understanding the timing of leverage. In the NBA, value often peaks not when a player arrives in July, but when desperation builds in the winter months. Boston's front office has shown time and again that it can weaponize patience, and the longer Simons stays, the more options might unfold. There is also an undercurrent of strategic experimentation at play. While the popular narrative paints this season as a holding pattern without Tatum, internally, it can be framed as a rare laboratory year. The Celtics have the space to test combinations, unlock hidden rotations, and perhaps even give Simons the kind of green light he rarely saw. In Portland, if his efficiency ticks upward in a system loaded with playmakers, his market value could rise dramatically, giving Boston the choice between flipping him for premium assets or keeping him as a valuable contributor in a playoff push that few outsiders might expect. The public sees an impasse. The insiders might see a fuse waiting to be lit at precisely the right moment. If Boston had been desperate to move Simons, he would likely already be wearing another jersey. Instead, the franchise appears content to play the long game, positioning themselves for a mid-season decision that could tilt the balance of their cap flexibility, their depth chart, and perhaps even their postseason ambitions. It is this kind of calculated restraint that has kept the Celtics competitive through eras of change, and it suggests that the story of Anfernee Simons in Boston is far from over. In a league where one injury, one unexpected breakout, or one underperforming contender can completely rewrite the trade market, the Celtics may be quietly holding one of the most intriguing cards in their deck. The question is not whether Simons will be moved, but when the exact moment arrives where his value becomes too compelling to ignore. Until then, the Boston front office can watch the landscape shift, knowing they have a scoring weapon under contract, a financial slate that remains manageable, and a timeline that still bends toward a championship window. Once their leader returns, the patience may frustrate those seeking immediate answers. Yet history has shown that in Boston, timing is everything. The most important move of this offseason might not be the ones already made, the ones still waiting in the shadows, ready to change the course of a season that many are already misjudging.